Hi, everybody. My name is Kyle Oliver, and I'll be your instructor for Changing Church, Missional Practices, and for Beloved Community. And on behalf of Church Divinity School of the Pacific and the School for Formation in the Episcopal Church of Minnesota, I want to welcome you to this class. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm looking forward to shaping this learning experience together with you for the next 8 weeks, 7 if you don't count Holy Week, which we will, of course, take off. So I want to start with a point about the sort of underlying thinking of this course. As Broderick Greer points out in this series of tweets, there has been and continues to be almost always problematic and often deeply sinful relationships between evangelism and mission on the one hand, and various forms of oppression and and sort of toxic hierarchy on the other. And the goal of this course is to imagine, as many folks actively are, forms of mission, evangelism, etc., that build on what we view to be a more authentic understanding of gospel values. And I love in particular that tweet on the middle there on the left side from Broderick about the importance of joy in difference. And I hope that we'll be able to cultivate that spirit in this course. I think Jesus is a fantastic example of that embodied approach to mission. My apologies for the loudness outside. There's some people working on the fire escape outside my building, and they've been at it for hours, and I needed to get this done, so I hope you'll bear with the noise. Sorry about that. So our approach for this course is going to be to look at a wide collection of missional practices, some that I've identified already, and others that I hope you'll bring in from your areas of expertise and interest, and look at those practices through the lens of Beloved Community, which you probably know is the sort of vision for the work of racial reconciliation and repair that the Episcopal Church has committed to undertaking. So our goal here is for our faith communities to have this character, and for the ways that we go out into our wider communities and neighborhoods and our contributions there to have this character. Again, this character of upholding the gospel values of freedom and respecting the dignity of all persons, of sharing power, of making no friend of oppression, and again, building the kinds of just communities that we see so exemplified in many of the texts of Scripture. So our sort of schedule for the course is going to be a week of introduction, followed by 4 sort of core units, 5 weeks plus Holy Week, that are built on those Beloved Community. Oh dear, I deleted too much. Sorry, that week 7 will pop back in. Inspired by the Episcopal Church's Becoming Beloved Community vision. In particular, in weeks 4 and 5, as I said, we're going to work on curating resources in support of missional practice. Curating is itself a kind of missional practice because it acknowledges that everyone has a diverse set of expertise and experiences, and it allows us to share from who we are, and with a critical eye toward serving and being a member of the particular communities that we're involved in. There's week 7. That'll be an integrated project where we take some of these Beloved Community documents, lots of the resources that we've curated, and do some design work around a particular missional initiative. You're free to work in groups. I know there might be some groups taking the course together from particular congregations, and that's wonderful. My goal in this course is always to have this learning be as practical and actionable and urgent as possible for folks. So this is our weekly schedule. I ask that you do your best to stick to it. During those first couple of days, you'll be reading, watching, and listening to stuff, and then sharing your thoughts. And then over the weekend, we'll be responding to each other. Monday's a catch-up day. There's some flex here, right? Like, no one's gonna kick you out of the course if you miss one of these deadlines. But on the other hand, these deadlines are part of how we'll be accountable to each other. If nobody's posted initial reflections come Friday morning, then then nobody can do the weekend work. So I invite you to do your best to stick to those deadlines. I want to take a brief second here and just give you a little bit of a tour of the Moodle site. That's the learning management system for this course. You can see here there's links to my info, how to get in touch with me. Please don't hesitate to reach out if there are problems you might be having in the course, if there are needs that you have that aren't being met. I'm happy to meet via video chat or to respond to emails. If you have an emergency and need to call, that's fine. Otherwise, let's set up a time to talk. But what I wanted to show you here is that for each of the weeks, there'll be a little sort of summary of the theme and what's going on for us that week, followed by a bunch of content, a prayer, followed by stuff to read, watch, and listen to, and then, as I said, forums where you can share your thoughts and respond to each other. Usually there's just one forum. This first week, we need to get to know each other, so we're going to have a couple of different activities for this first week. Let me go back into presenter mode here. You all are adult learners. That means you learn about the things that are interesting to you, motivation-wise. I hope that you're interested in this course and that's why you're here. But I've tried, as I said, to make this stuff as relevant as possible, and you don't have to look far into the ways that race and class and gender and sexual orientation and physical abilities, all manner of human difference and power differentials related to them. You don't have to look far to see how those differences are causing deep pain and division in the world right now, and deep oppression and injustice. And so I hope you believe that this is an urgent and timely collection of materials for us to be looking at and thinking about, and an urgent action for us together with our communities to be taking. One of our themes of the course will be that that kind of justice doesn't just happen, and that these patterns of relationship don't just happen. And so in all the discussion forums, there'll be links to what I've proposed as some community norms having to do with responsibility, for our actions, using I statements, listening to and respecting each other. These are basic kinds of things drawn from toolkits for learning and working across difference. But if you have suggestions for how to do those norms better, please reach out and we can talk about that. In fact, there's a forum set up where you can add your thoughts about that throughout our time together. So let me close by just saying a little bit about me. I served as the digital missioner in the Center for the Ministry of Teaching, formerly the Center for the Ministry of Teaching, now Lifelong Learning, at Virginia Theological Seminary. So I had a particular interest there in practices of meaning making and community and belonging, communication practices, evangelism practices, etc. And I'm now a doctoral student in educational media at Teachers College at Columbia University. And my interest is in the teaching and learning that happens amidst social change, and to encourage healthy and positive forms of social change. So happy to say more through the course of the time together about what that's looked like for me. You're going to interact with lots of the resources that have been meaningful for me in my work. Worth noting that sometimes you'll have some transfer work to do with these materials. I draw a lot from the education literature, mostly secular education literature. And I think there's lots to learn there. There's lots of joy and difference, and lots of joy and similarity between challenges facing the church and challenges facing schools and other educational institutions. And so I think it will be fairly clear how to do that work of translation in the cases where we've got materials from somewhere beyond the world of missiology and practical theology. But if you're confused about that, again, feel free to name that and bring that in. And the questions in the forums don't often directly prompt you, because my goal is to sort of get to the application stuff. But there's also a place for saying like, hey, I've just got a question about this reading, or I had an idea about this reading and I want to play around with it. You'll see there's a forum for doing that as well. So that's plenty for now. Thank you so much for signing up for the course. Thank you for all the wisdom and energy that you will bring to it. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions or concerns, and have a wonderful first week. Thanks, and we'll see you soon.